If you've never seen EcoFlow's off-grid power kit, this is one of the most interesting systems that ever come out in the last few years that it kind of really turns the market a different direction. Most people are now going to be looking into plug-and-play kits like this, and I've already seen Victron and Renogy already changing suit as plug-and-play is now really starting to take over on the market, which honestly, this is probably going to hurt some of the installers out there because this was so easy to install, most people are going to be able to do it. I'm going to run you through the installation. We'll go over some of the pros and cons, and I'll give you some other alternatives as well, but I really think you're going to like this. The EcoFlow Power Kit was designed for the DIYer in mind. This allows you to set it up in several different configurations because it's modular. This allows you to use it in several different situations such as RVs, van builds, off-grid homes, and more. It's plug and play, which makes this a very simple setup to turn on and go. The Power Hub is simply just taking 5 pieces of equipment and placing them all into one designated hub, allowing for quick, easy installation. With the ability to charge with 4,800 watts of solar or 1,000 watts from an alternator, you can also charge from shore power, and not to mention EcoFlow's smart generator. Now, there will be several boxes that will come in the kit, but don't let this deter you, as this is actually really well organized. Not to mention they have a template that helps you install the Power Hub, and every cable is actually designated to go into only one slot, so it's hard to mess up. Now, I'm installing a 10 kilowatt system. Each one of these are lithium iron phosphate batteries, and they are also heated. They do weigh a lot, 85 pounds, and there are a couple different ways to mount them, like these brackets. These are also side specific, as you can see. Once you get the right one, it's only held in by a couple screws, which you'll just need a drill or a hand driver to put these on, and then you can move on to mounting it to your designated location. Now, since the battery is up against my RV, I did need a long extension. I'll leave a link of something like this down below, but they do provide the self-drilling screws, so this does make it easy to install. I ended up putting this over on the far side versus running both batteries down below because I wanted to stack the batteries. All I had to do was install these couple screws, slide over the battery to gain a little bit of extra room, and then tighten the screws down. Now, you will get a designated battery cable for each battery, and the plug-in is just at the top of the battery, and this is where you will also find the main fuse in case that happens to pop, but plug this in and set it out of the way. Now, again, these batteries are heavy, so use good lifting techniques. I did find one trick that if you take the towel, put it on top of the other battery, then you can easily take this battery, rock it, and just roll it right up on top of the other one. This allowed me to really not have to put much effort into lifting it at all. Then I could just remove the towel, place the 2 screws on each side like I did last time, and now 2 batteries are mounted. Now, there is one thing that I did last night was I got everything laid out. I put the batteries down on the ground and I kind of pre-sized everything before I actually started the install. That's where it's going to save you a lot of time, is if you kind of have a general idea, or a good idea at least, of where you're going to put everything, because I did do a lot of pre-measuring with the template and more. So that's really what's going to make this install actually quite a bit easier. Now, for the purpose of this video, I didn't install the brackets just to show you, but these brackets that go on the Power Hub, there's one for the top, there's one for the bottom, and 3 screws hold them in place. This allows you to mount it later, but you do need this template first. Now, one thing that's nice about this template, it's pretty easy to read. It tells you how much room you need on the top and the bottom and plus the sides, and then it gives you 3 holes on where to mount it. I also checked the battery cables coming from the battery just to make sure that they would reach and look uniform when I did mount this. I used my screw gun to mark the holes, and then I ended up taking my drill and just simply drilling the bracket onto the back wall, and also used the provided screws. This will allow the Power Hub to just simply hang on, and then you just have to put 4 other additional screws at the top and 4 at the bottom, and then this is pretty much mounted and done. And here's what the finished results will look like. This was super simple so far and only about an hour in. Now, one part of the install we do get to skip is the AC/DC distribution panel. You don't actually need this in an RV because, well, it's already got that in there. This is going to have all your main breakers already inside, and that's just what we're going to plug into. So that saves a huge step when you're utilizing these like in an RV. But if you are doing a fresh like redo of maybe an Airstream, or if you're doing a van build, well, the AC/DC distribution panel, you're going to need that. It is actually a pretty cool piece. Unfortunately, we don't need it. Now, this little part here, this is your power kit console. This might be the hardest part of your install depending on how you have to do it. I ended up having to run this data cable, which this is just a CAN bus cable, and up here is where I had my old generator start, and there is a remote cable that was there, so I ended up having to take some of this disassemble it, and then run the cable all the way forward. Now this part of your install is obviously going to be a lot different in every single trailer or depending on your build, but this part took me about a good hour just because I did have to run some other solar cables so I could have this back online, at least for my trailer build. But overall, I'm going to have mine installed right here. And I don't even think I'm really going to need to cover this. I might later, so we'll see what happens with that. But I did take a piece of scrap wood to make a backing plate, which then I took the mounting plate, which this is held on by a really strong double-sided sticky tape. I did need to remove a little notch off of it, but then mounted it on, and then I did utilize 2 screws, and then simply the console goes on and plugs in and just snaps and slides into place. Which again, running the wire was the hardest part, but after you're all said and done, it actually looks original. Once you've run the communication cable up to the power hub, you simply plug it into one of the CAN bus ports. But there is another port that does need a jumper, which they do provide 2 of them because you aren't using the AC-DC distribution panel. This is really for communication purposes, so it doesn't throw errors. And now we get to start plugging things in. Simply plug in the batteries to either one of the ports, just make sure you know which one is which. And then we do have to put some solar input, which I love this system because of the multiple input ports for DC. They provide you the solar cables as well, which are extra long, which because my solar input is only about 3 feet away at most, I actually don't need this much length. Okay, so both batteries are hooked up. I also have the solar cable hooked up. I'm going to shorten that later because it just goes right there. But the communication cable is in, and now we have one more main cable. Now this is the AC power cable that would go to that AC-DC distribution panel we're not using, or an RV transfer switch. Now since I have a generator prep already, this is going to a transfer switch installed, so I'm going to install it to that cord. That way I have more of a universal setup. And now all I have to do is plug this in, I put on a 30 amp adapter to the other side, and voila, this is fully powered and ready to turn on. But there is a little cleanup that I need to do, so give me a quick second and I'll fix that. And here is the finished product. This was real easy to install. I took about 4 hours total to do this, when other systems might take you a couple days and you will probably need an installer. Not that I despise Victron in any way. I love their products. They're definitely robust, but this is the way that the market is going. Plug and play systems are going to be the future no matter where you look at it. And because this is easy to install, it is also easy to uninstall and retain your money that you spent and utilize it somewhere else. Now, having a larger battery bank means you will need a larger solar system to help keep it powered up. I do have over 2,000 watts of solar on top of my RV, which these are the newer style Renogy flexible solar panels with half-cut cells. They've been installed for over 6 months and performing well, which allows me to keep these batteries topped off frequently. I do have the power kit plugged into my generator cord, which this did make installation easier into the AC system because it goes to the transfer switch, and this really just makes for more flexibility and options. The power kit also has a 20 amp outlet, which this can handle a lot of high loads such as power tools and more. Now the EcoFlow power kit does have a DC out, and it's rated at 13.6 volts and 70 amps, but due to the fact that my trailer has 4-point leveling, it'll draw more than 90 amps if all 4 points are going down at the same time, so I still need to keep my house batteries. A lot of people will be able to eliminate this if you don't have the auto leveling, because honestly, that's going to be your biggest draw. But with these 2 batteries alone, I have 412 amp hours. Just to give you an idea, this is a 100 amp hour battery. Each one of these batteries is like 2 of these in one. So now I have 412 amp hours and over 5,000 watt hours just with these 2 batteries alone, taking up less space. Now each solar input can handle 1600 watts, but having multiple inputs allows for a lot of different configurations, or in times like this where I'm only pulling in 100 watts, I can put out a portable solar panel to draw in more power. I also have the option to run a 3rd battery if I want, or I can use the EcoFlow Smart Generator. This simply just needs an adapter and then the cord that'll come with the generator, and now you have an automatic start and stop unit that can run off of gas or propane and provide up to about 1800 watts of power. I have this set at 1000, but I can also set all of the functions in my phone on the power hub and also the smart generator. I also love this AC input because I can run loads with AC and also charge the batteries. I can use a Champion generator like this one here, or whatever personal one you might like. I can also charge things up utilizing shore power, which I just use a 50 amp dog bone to go into a 30 amp connection.
Now the power hub has no problem running my main AC unit and also my front AC unit. This can handle loads of up to 3600 watts, and I can charge with the generator or AC as well, and I do like that the voltages show up onto your inputs like the solar or AC. Running a microwave is definitely not a problem, as this one only uses just about 1400 watts. And I can also utilize my trailer as basically a giant power supply to run items in my house, or like my favorite new mini split, this can run off of solar only, or I can also plug it into my trailer at 110 volts.
Now, I'm still playing with the power kit, but really there's a lot of functions this can do. And again, you're really going to be saving on the installation costs on this because this kit is rather expensive. This was about a $13,000 kit if you were to go on EcoFlow and just kind of buy it outright. But there are a lot of super sales out there where you can take advantage of this and get it for a lot cheaper. Now, if you were to look at a different kit, say such as a Victron kit on a 10 kilowatt setup, it would have a little bit more solar input, and it may have a little bit more output as far as instead of a 3600 watt inverter, you may get up to maybe 5000 watts depending on what you need. But you're looking at $17,000 roughly, give or take. Not to mention you may need somebody to install that if you do not have that kind of ability, to where this again is really focused on making it really DIY friendly. Now, if you guys do have questions, there is a link down below called Ask Me. That allows you to get a hold of me directly, and there is a small fee associated with it, but it is less than a cup of coffee, and that way I know if there is anybody who actually has a specific question that needs a more detailed answer, that's how you can get a hold of me. And again, it just pays for my time really, because there's so many comments and questions, and some of them get lost on YouTube that I can't answer everything, or else I would be living on my computer. So I have a lot of other things I need to do besides live there, but I try to answer as many as I can, but it can get pretty overwhelming. But I hope you guys liked the video. If you want to get a hold of me, you know where, and I hope I see you in the next one.